Good morning, everyone. Join me as we let our inner light shine today. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, oh, let it shine, shine. You know you got to shine, shine. Everybody, shine, shine. All around the world, shine, shine, shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, oh, let it shine, shine. Everybody, shine, shine. You know you got to shine, shine. All around the world, shine, shine. When there's light in the soul, when there's light in the soul, there is beauty in the person. There is beauty in the person. When there's beauty in the person, when there's beauty in the person, there is harmony in the home. There is harmony in the home. When there's harmony in the home, when there's harmony in the home, there is honor in the nation. Honor in the nation. When there's honor in the nation, when there's honor in the nation, there is peace in the world. No more living in fear. We're gonna let it shine. Oh, no more living in fear. We're gonna let it shine. Come on. No more living in fear. We're gonna let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine. Oh, let it shine, shine. Everybody, shine, shine. You know you got to shine, shine. All around the world, shine, shine. All my brothers and sisters, shine, shine. Everybody, shine, shine, shine. All around the world, shine, shine. Shine, shine, shine. All around the world, shine, shine. Shine, shine, shine. All my brothers and sisters, shine, shine. Everybody, shine, shine.
Ohayo gozaimasu, mushi mushi, and welcome to our spiritual community. And I'm glad that you're here joining us for the next 45 minutes to an hour as we engage in a back to basics that's off the trail. So I welcome you to my dojo. And as always, I am Reverend Richard Pacheco, but I've also been known as Sensei Richard Pacheco. I took martial arts and taught martial arts through most of my 20s and 30s, and though I miss it, I am a big fan. But when we talk about the hero's journey, when we talk about going through our unity journey, they pretty much match up. So what better way to celebrate the big beginning of our journey, going through the journey, than using the movie The Karate Kid as a placeholder, as an example of the hero's journey as we move through our unity journey. So stay tuned for that talk later. I hope you enjoyed the song, got right in there. And remember that we're going to light our light because over the next couple of weeks, we're going to go through Karate Kid 1, 2, 3, and then the next Karate Kid, which some people like to call Karate Kid 4. and each one has a very unique place in our unity journey. I hope you enjoy the talk. So before we move forward, as always, make sure that you shared this out. Make sure that you took the time to connect with us if you have any questions or prayers, and always subscribe and like. So make sure we do all of this before we get started. But right now, we want to engage into the experience. So let's go ahead and take a deep breath in, knowing that we are here. We are now. We are grateful because we were divinely shown to be here, whether it's live or later on. Something inside our heart said, I need to be here. I need to hear this. Let's go ahead and close our eyes. Let's just continue to breathe, knowing that we are centered here, knowing we begin our journey. We know that this talk, this lesson, is for us to hear, as we could have gone through any of the basic books, and we will. But we wanted to imagine ourselves on this journey today. So we were divinely guided to this place and time to hear this journey, to compare ourselves to the journeys of others only in the fact of the same paths and the same challenges, and that we all can overcome these challenges, and we know we are here. As I bring forward our daily word for today, it comes from Sunday, June 23rd, 2019, and we focus on our words, spiritual journey. And our affirmation for today is, I continue my spiritual journey one with Spirit. And our affirmative prayer goes, my life is a spiritual journey that began long before my birth. I am on an eternal spiritual journey that leads me ever more deeply into an awareness of God's presence, an awareness of oneness. Even when I have not been seeking, God has always been there. The psalmists say, where can I go from your spirit? Or where can I flee from your presence? No matter how far I thought I strayed, a renewed awareness of God has always been as near as my next thoughts. When I have felt stuck or even lost on my spiritual journey, many times the thoughts of God has helped me find my way again. And as I continue my spiritual journey, I go with God, for whatever I am, God is. And from Psalms 139:7, where can I go from your spirit, or where can I flee from your presence? We hold that true within ourselves now, knowing that there is nowhere that we can't go where Spirit isn't leading us. We go with an open heart and open mind, allowing all of today's songs to speak to us, all of today's lessons to speak to us, and we engage fully in this experience. As we continue this prayer, we hold in the high watch all that are affected by the oncoming storms, especially those in Puerto Rico right now. We hold in the high watch all that are here in service, and we share gratitude with them, knowing they're doing the work that is for them to do. And we share gratitude for ourselves because we are here doing the work. As we all heard over the talks, we practice as we become better and better at knowing who we truly are and meeting the hero within ourselves. And we know that this journey has already begun because we say it isn't so, we let it be. We affirm with Ashe, so mote be, and amen.
The things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. 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 I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that cause me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I've left behind. I am light. I am light. I'm light. I'm light. I am light. I am light. Yeah, yeah. I am light. I am light. I'm not the colors of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. All light. All light. Yeah, all light. I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. Yeah, I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light.
And as we hopefully engaged with the song I Am Light, reminding us the light we are, let us move into meditation as we close our eyes and take in a deep breath. Just allow the week that's passed to just be released. That's our past. It's no longer living, only in our mind. But we release it today as it no longer serves us. We take another deep breath. As we worry about the week coming up, we let go of that anxiety because we know we are in a perfect place of unfoldment as we take this journey together. And as our third breath, we breathe in deeply, settling into our seat, settling into our bed, wherever we are at this moment watching this. We allow our breath to just continue from here, knowing we are in the presence of Spirit. We are in the presence of God. We are in the only moment that counts. It is the now, it is the presence. This is where all that is manifested. And as we continue to breathe, we release the outer world, knowing that that no longer is part of us as we move into the seat of the soul, move into that Christ consciousness, that part within us that allows us to tap into the kingdom that's within. We continue to breathe into that place of our hearts, and we move in gratitude. Now let's just take a few moments to just bring up an image or some time in your life that brought so much joy and love to you. Let's just settle into that image for a few moments and feel it. Not just see it in your mind, but actually feel it as we continue to breathe. Let's hold on to that feeling as we move into our journey today, knowing that we will move in the journey in love and in peace. We begin our unity journey together as we move in and through the obstacles, through the emotions, through the love, peace, and joy that we will feel. Move in faith. As our master teachers taught, even when we have just the faith of a mustard seed, we can move mountains. Sometimes that mountain is us. Sometimes it's just our beliefs. Sometimes it is our doubts and fears that hold us back. We have a hero in all of ourselves. Today we move into this space of truly tapping into who we are. We move into a space of knowing that the I am within us is a light. That light is shining brightly. We move through this space with every breath knowing that that light begins to become brighter. And with every breath it reaches out beyond our bodies, out into the world, reaching out to all of us in oneness, finally surrounding the earth with this light. And again, with every breath it gets brighter with healing light, with peace. As we move on this journey, let's take a few moments in the silence to listen to that small, still voice that guides us on this journey of the work we must do today. Today, we come back to this place in time, ready to do the work, open-hearted, open-minded, ready to hear the lessons that we're working on, ready to move in our journey, knowing that yes, we may face fear, doubt, and maybe our beliefs from before will come up. But we know that together in faith, we will move on that journey together, step by step, knowing that there are plenty of examples out there of this hero's journey. Help us move through. So as we take a quick look at ourselves on this journey, we may be looking at a path in front of us. Maybe we're ready to pave our own path. But either way, the journey has started. We're so grateful. We know it's already begun because we say it isn't so, we let it be. Take a deep breath in. Release it into the universe. And when you're ready, go ahead and open your eyes as we move into our next song.
There's a hero. If you look inside your heart, you don't have to be afraid of what you are. There's an answer if you reach into your soul, and the sorrow that you know will melt away. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on, and you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth that a hero lies in you.
welcome back. Welcome back to the dojo as we move forward in our hero's journey using the movie The Karate Kid. Now, this is going to be a four-part series like every other series we did, because I can tell you from my own perspective of watching all those Karate Kid movies, and I'm not talking about the new one with Jaden Smith, I'm talking about the original four Karate Kid movies, that they actually tell a tale of a growing journey that resembles a lot of what we do here at Unity. Now, for those that have never seen the original Karate Kid movie, it was a movie taken out in 1984 about a kid who moves from Newark, New Jersey to California with his mom to find a better way, a better life for herself, probably a job she was looking for. So, in that move, of course, we talk about how we're thrown into this place of a new journey. You know, egos coming in. I'm not going to know anybody. I'm not going to like it here. I wish I could have been back in my comfort zone. And we know that nothing grows in the comfort zone. But we know that when we move out of that comfort zone, we begin that hero's journey. And anybody who wants to do more about the hero's journey that I keep mentioning, check out Joseph Campbell's work. It is some great stuff. There's a movie actually about his life and about the principles of the hero's journey that takes place. So again, a big fan of the Cobra Kai series that's out right now. And that's what brought this back to me because, you know, as I watched it with my daughter, I'm sitting there and I'm pinpointing, you know, what is being taken or borrowed from the original four movies. And it's great. But that's what practice comes about, because that repetition came back to me because I've seen it so many times. And 1984, I was 14. I was actually moved in my own hero's journey from Manhattan, where I was living with my grandmother, and she had passed away, and I moved in with my mother. And now I'm in a new school. I'm in a new martial arts school as well. And in that time, you know, it was kind of the same thing as he was. He came from Newark, New Jersey. He was learning karate there. He came back. But that egoistic part of you that comes into this new place, and we want to be bigger than ever, our ego takes place. And a lot of time our ego comes into play because we're afraid. And that's the same thing as we have here. And again, just remember, there's going to be a lot of spoilers if you haven't watched the movies. But if you are going to watch Cobra Kai on Netflix, you're going to definitely want to see the first four movies of Karate Kid and watch it for yourselves so that you can enjoy it. In fact, next week I'm going to touch upon something that happens to Daniel, that the true answer of what happens doesn't get answered until the Cobra Kai season. So I'll leave you with that cliffhanger. Let's get back to the journey. So again, we come in, he's in a new place, a new school, and he's got this attitude, you know, and a lot of times this attitude comes from fear. We know that we come from two places. We come from our ego. That's the perspective of our own lives, our own attitude based on what society says we need to be. Then there's that inner self, that part you learn later on within ourselves. And you will see that Daniel goes through the same journey. As we walk into a Unity church, a lot of times we've come to this church because we're looking for, you know, could be abundance and prosperity, because we've heard the talks. We've heard about healings that's gone on in New Thought, and we've come to Unity. Maybe we were at another church that didn't make us feel welcome anymore for whatever reason and came in. And we come into this place and we go through the same thing. Is this really going to work? Is all these people here, they're too happy for me? You know, what is this folk music? You know, there's so many things that we fight against. Daniel-san goes through the exact same thing. He comes into the high school, you know, he comes to a party. So in this party, he meets a young lady who he's attracted to, and he's trying to talk to her. Ex-boyfriend comes in, he begins to ruin the party, ends up embarrassing him in front of people. Metaphysically, I love the fact that if you really look at it, thoughts are represented as people when we do our metaphysical Bible work. So imagine that you're at the top of the world, you're with new friends, you've got these great thoughts, you think you're on top of the world, and all of a sudden these negative thoughts come. Now, I don't know about you, but I've known part of my life where when things are going good, I start to begin to think negatively. What's going to happen next? Where's the doomsday coming? And in this case, it represents exactly that. And he continues to go through that over and over again through the movie. Now, how many of you can answer the same question? I'm going through life, I'm doing all the work, or even before I even know the work, I'm going through life as I'm told to do. I'm supposed to be doing this. I should be doing this. As per the world, I am supposed to be doing something or whatever. And we find out that it wasn't really our journey to take. It wasn't our path to take. Well, in this case, we have Daniel-san. He has a new home, a new environment, new school. Now, during this time, and we talk about this a lot in Unity, is that inner voice within ourselves, that desire for something more. And I think for me in Karate Kid, it is represented when Daniel first meets Mr. Miyagi. It's very sharp conversation. Can you do this? Can you do that? I'll be here when, so forth and so on, and he leaves. So we know that this character is going to take a big part in his life. Same thing with us. It's that inner longing for something more that usually brings us through Unity or any kind of New Thought church. What was that longing for you? And when we try to do it ourselves, which is another reason that I love the movie, is because, he goes to the party, he's gotten this calling, he's having a good time. We have the gang, Johnny and all the other Cobra Kai going after him. He's embarrassed. He had to overcome these thoughts, and we do all the time where we're giving up. He's avoiding the girl during this thing because he doesn't want to do anything. And he keeps telling people how he took lessons somewhere else. We may have, how many of us try to fix things ourselves? And we do it haphazardly. We take the easy way. You've heard me say it. I used to hate the easy button from Staples because it reminded me of people who needed to work on things and decided, I'm going to take the easy way out. And when things fall apart, of course, it's not their fault. But it's the same thing here. He learned the style in that he comes in and he knows that he has to do something at this point. So in the movie, you find him actually practicing karate on his own. He's got a book out. He's trying to practice, and nothing wrong with that because we use books to study and read, and I do all the time. And it takes practice, but how much better it is when we walk into a Unity church and have a senior minister or an associate minister or a licensed Unity teacher sit there and talk to us. I talk about all the time that my biggest thing in Unity was open to be receiving. And it was Reverend Diane, who was our senior minister, who actually caught that in me and gave me material to read and to work on. So as we moved, we know that he's moved into a new environment as well with the schools, where our continuous negative thoughts continue to play on our own mind. Same thing with him. He's going through the school. He's seeking answers, but doesn't always lead to the right answers. There's a scene, he's looking for a new dojo. Happens to walk into the dojo with the negative thoughts, the Johnny and the Cobra Kai. Turns around and he's like, yeah, I got to get out of there. And they make fun of him because they see him there knowing what they just did to him. And in trying to find the right answers, he continues to move through. He's bike riding. He gets knocked over the cliff. These negative thoughts are tearing us down. Trust me when I tell you I know that journey. And I'm sure many of you out there doing the same thing are probably nodding your head right now. You know that journey. We talk about our master teacher, Jesus, talking about how the 40 days in the village where he was tempted because he was hungry. He was tempted for fame. He was tempted to test his knowledge. And we do the same thing, but a lot of times we go through those tests and give up saying there's nothing more. We try to do it ourselves. We try to do whatever. And then we try to avoid, rather than go through our emotions, we attempt to avoid. And like I said earlier, he does the same thing. He ends up, arguing with, the young lady he's interested in. He's pushing her away, keeps doing that. And it's usually, and if you look at the scene, it's really not from a place of anger or whatever, but a place of, fear. Maybe he doesn't want to get hurt. And if I can push her away now, then I won't get hurt later. But as we continue on this journey, we continue on that path of, okay, things are better now. I'm going through whatever. I'm avoiding my emotions. I think I'm happy in life. You ever have that person that says everything is perfect in life? And we know that life is about balance and harmony. Some things are going to be up, some things are going to be down. And again, I love, as James Reyes used to say, if life was one note being played across the entire orchestra for the rest of our lives, it would be the most boring life there is. In the movie, Johnny decides to play a prank. He decides, well, these guys have been tough on me. I've kind of avoided them. Why not pull a prank on them? Which ends up putting him in a situation where he's now being beat up by the gang of the Cobra Kai in a desert, in a back parking lot, excuse me. So if we ever take that example as negative thoughts just bombarding us, just coming after us, just constantly hitting us, just like the temptations our master teacher went through. Siddhartha, as the Buddha, went through his own challenges under the Bodhi tree where he found enlightenment. We do it on a daily basis when those negative thoughts, we allow society's thinking to continue to beat on us, tear us down to the point where we want to give up. How many of you, like me, have actually just said, I want to close my eyes and just be here, be in peace, do nothing, talk to nobody, and avoid everything, and it's still our life gets torn down. But the beauty is that once we are settled in, and sometimes we have to hit rock bottom. It's not the ideal spot to be, but it is rock bottom. Then the small, still voice no longer is small and still, it is big, going, hello, I'm here. So during this time of the prank, we know that in the movie, Mr. Miyagi jumps the fence, ends up defending Danny, Daniel-san, taking him back to his room and treating his wounds. So now it's become the time where we now have this time where the small, still voices here, we hear it a lot louder. And in his case, he's asking questions, and we do that constantly. What are we doing? Where are we going? What is the Inquisition? This is where prayer comes in. We know Charles Fillmore says that the greatest mind action we can do is prayer. But in the same boat, he may not be physically praying as we know, but he's sitting there. Well, I didn't know that you can do this. How many of us don't know what we're capable of? How many of us don't know that? And I love the part where he actually asks Mr. Miyagi, now that he knows what kind of, that he teaches karate, he says, well, what kind of belt do you have? Now I'll tell you the secret of karate. The black belt is not the finish line. It is actually the starting line. Black belt just means you've learned how to walk, how to do the basics. Black belt and on is where that defense, that spiritual aspect of your martial arts begins to come in. And it's the same thing here. Mr. Miyagi makes a joke. Oh yeah, it's brown belt, JCPenney, the whole 9 yards, and he's laughing. And he tells him finally, karate is here. Karate is here. It's not on your belt. The same thing here at Unity. Jesus tells us that the kingdom that we seek is within ourselves. It is the work we do to be in here that allows us to let this go, come inside. And even people that mean well for us sometimes come from their own perspective. We need to sometimes accept what they say, but only in the fact of allowing it to filter through the inner part of us. So we know exactly when and where we need to be. So at this point, he begins to face things. He's working with Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi tells him, well, let's go ahead and fix this and face your fear. That's where the journey begins for all of us in Unity. We're introduced to all these things, the 5 principles, the 12 powers, Emily Cady's works of Lessons in Truth, the book Alternative, the book Simple Truth, all these different things that are now testing our inner beliefs. We go to face it. We know that there's part of us that fears what we read. In fact, Emily Cady, at the beginning of Lessons in Truth, says, just bear with me, pretty much, and I'm paraphrasing, throughout the book, releasing what you think you know, and just move through this with me. And at the end of the book, if you decide to go back, that's fine. Alternatives begins more or less the same way. So here it is, Daniel-san is with Mr. Miyagi. Mr. Miyagi is taking him to face his fear. He goes to the dojo and asks the teacher to leave him alone, and that his students to leave him alone. So of course, Sensei is like, what? He can't fight his own battles. He can fight here. He can do this. He can do that. How many of us have been through that? So many thoughts running in our heads. We know we're in the right place in the right time. We're taking the right action. But the thoughts in our head are like, what? You're not good enough? What? You think this is the way to do it? No, we've been good all along. Why are we going to do this? And if we stay in that place of those thoughts, it is the advantage of our negative thinking. And if you've ever heard the teachings that I've worked with, we talk about ants or automatic negative thoughts. Those thoughts come in with their friends, and they continue to form, and that chemicalization begins. And a decision is made to do the work. In this case, Mr. Miyagi says, we will take this and we will finish this at the tournament. So a decision is made to do the work and to start training. That's where we are at. When we begin that work, we begin to take those 5 principles and learn them. We begin to put them into action, because it's not about learning, it's about action. And we take that action and move into it. Our master teacher teaches that the truth will set you free. And that's the truth with a capital T. But I will tell you that before it sets you free, it will piss you off, because it'll make you face things. Just like in Daniel-san's case. Here it is, I'm going to learn karate. My ego says I'm going to learn karate. And I'm going to learn it the way I feel to learn it. Ever do that to yourself when you're training? Or when you're learning something? I'm coming to Unity, I want to learn these principles, but I'm only going to practice them the way I think they should be practiced. Rather than let the experience and the stories of others help you through that path. So here it is, we are at the dojo. Danny's told to wax on, wax off, and he's waxing cars. He's told to sand the floor. Mr. Miyagi has a beautiful Japanese garden, wooden decks, and he's sitting there sanding the floor. Comes back the next day. Paint the fence. Then finally he shows up again. He gets a message to paint the house. Now he's frustrated. Mr. Miyagi comes home, and he's yelling at him how he was supposed to teach him karate and that he was using him as a slave. And that egoistic perspective of what it is and what we don't know is there. And we know we do the same thing because we go through our training in Unity, we go through our training in life, whether we go through personal development training and all that, and we only see the topical part of it. We know that the biggest part of the iceberg is usually not above the water. And that's where we are today. So at this point, Mr. Miyagi steps up and goes, show me sand the floor. Show me that. And Danny realizes that when he got out of his own way, he learned, I would say, about a good 50% of his training in 4 days over muscle memory practice. So when we talk about principle number 4, we talk about that the tools we use are prayer, our affirmative prayer and affirmations and denials, and we use meditation. And we tell you that that's a daily practice. This is why. It becomes muscle memory. I remember when I started the journey, affirmative prayer was hard because I continuously wanted to reach outside of myself to something based on embedded theology. But with muscle memory, I realize now that when I go to affirm, I don't have to affirm a lot. Sometimes I can just think the thought and say, it is done. Because I know I've moved inside of myself and I know how it is. And I take the action behind it. So Daniel-san's now open. He sees. He releases his ego. Somewhat. Because there's still that part of him, and that's still that part of us that wants to do it the way we want to do it. Because It gets hard, it gets embarrassing, we fall, and we know that failure is that. So in this part of the movie, this is that part of that journey where we go through life, and life will have its ups and downs. There'll be days that we pray affirmatively for a great day, and the day was perfect, everything went well. We started to see expressions in our lives, or manifestations, if you want to call it that. We start to see beautiful things, and then all of a sudden we trip. Now we think the life is over. We think that everything's bad. We have to readjust ourselves, but because now we're open, we go back to the practice, we do the affirmation. And yes, as confusing and as fast as I'm speaking, is exactly how life feels sometimes. It's just coming and coming. But when we move in faith, hold on to strength, have will, use right judgment, those 12 powers that we've heard so much about, as we begin to move through that, and we get us each time we try to do something. You know, there's a scene where Daniel-san sees Mr. Miyagi doing the crane technique, and he asks him what was that. He describes it. He goes, "What can I learn that?" He goes, "First learn to stand before you learn to fly." And it's the same thing with us. How many of us want to jump from being a unity, being welcomed into unity, to knowing how to live the most perfect life immediately without the trials and tribulations? I remember a mentor of mine in another business who used to say, they want the rainbows without the rains, and they want the breakthroughs without the breakdowns. And that's all a part of life. Just look at the life of our master teacher and all he went through. All the judgment calls in that, but he continued his ministry. Buddha himself, the same thing. And many of our luminaries in life, Gandhi, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all of them went through some type of trial and tribulation that they could have said, "I'm done. It's over." And they kept moving. One of the most important part, and I'm jumping back into the movie a little bit at the beginning, is that making a decision. And I love when he said that, because I used to laugh, because I knew exactly what he meant. And he tells Daniel-san, "Is this what you want to do?" And he goes, if you're walking down the road and your left side, you're okay. Your right side, you're okay. But you walk down the middle, squish like a grape. And he tells him, karate yes, karate no, karate maybe, squish like a grape. And it's the same thing with us. Either we're going to practice our practices, we're going to meditate, even when it's hard in the morning, even when it's hard at night. We're going to practice, practice, practice. We're going to say affirmative prayers, and there's going to be times, especially if you've come from a traditional religion, where we're going to try to reach out to something outside of us, and we have to reel it back in and realize we're praying to within ourselves. Because we're not praying for something, we are praying to change the mindset within ourselves, to be open to the manifestation. Such as Danny had to do as he went through his training. Then it's that moment of truth. And we talk about it from Emily Cady when she talks about chemicalization. It's time for the tournament. It's time to face it head on. We've done the work. We're doing great. We're affirming everything. We're using denials to release the power it has over us. We're meditating to have that time in the silence, to go in between the thoughts, that gap within the thoughts, as Dr. Wayne Dyer used to say. And we're doing the same thing. We're preparing. We feel like we don't know what we're doing. And we get out there. And then there's two of us out there. It's the watcher and it's the doer. As Daniel begins his tournament, he stands to the side and he watches the fights. He gets into a fight. And the first match he goes on, he runs away because he's scared. And then that voice inside of him, well, in this case, Mr. Miyagi, but that voice inside of us says, "No, get back in there. It's okay to be afraid. But it's not okay not to do anything." And he got back in and he ended up winning the match. Now, take it from someone who spent years in different karate tournaments, from Washington, D.C. to Las Vegas to Madison Square Garden. When you have 2 minutes in that ring, it is the longest 2 minutes of your life. And it's something that you will remember when you go into prayer, when you go into that, when you think that life is falling apart around you. You just have to be in that small, still voice. I'm doing some work right now with myself that at points have teared me down in depression, made me think thoughts that should not have been thinking. And even if the thoughts were correct, I should be in a place that knows that it's a situation and you make a decision. It's the same thing here. So Daniel's going fight after fight after fight. He's winning, he's happy. He got injured, but he's okay. He keeps moving. The challenges are happening. Same thing with us. We're moving through life. We get those bumps and those bruises as we move forward. And then the big challenge comes. So in Karate Kid, the bad thought or the sensei from the Cobra Kai tells his student, take out the leg or sweep the leg. Well, actually, it's take out the leg first. So the student cheats, hits Daniel in the knee, taking him down, taking him out of the tournament. Has to be carried out. How many of us have had that thought that comes in and says, no, let me send that thought right in. He's not good enough. She's not good enough. She did this to me. He did that to me. The world is against me. We're down on our knees because we've been working so hard to get to this place. And we allow our negative thoughts to carry us away. But what if we stop and breathe? Turn to that breath. Just breathe. And let your good thoughts begin to carry you away. So here's a moment of truth. Danny is in the championship fight, but he just got taken out. He's on a bed. Doctors have checked him out. They're about to tell them that he can't return. The trophy's about to be handed to someone else. And he has a conversation with Mr. Miyagi. And he asks him, could I have won? Mr. Miyagi says, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose, that you did the work. And he says, but did you think I could win? And Mr. Miyagi said, yes. He says, can you do something for my leg? He says, there's no need to. He goes, Mr. Miyagi, it's not about anybody else. It's about me. How many of us have been in that spot where we know we've done the work. We've done it. We're in pain. We're crying. We're trying to hold on to that breath. We know that the decision is there to work through it, to do what we need to do. And we have the choice to give up or to get up. Daniel tells him, it's more important to me to know. If I leave here and not follow through, then what have I did all of this for? Back in the same spot I am. I know how that feels. I know you do. Where that decision comes to, do I move forward with this or do I give up? Trust me when the answer comes through. Daniel gets, and I'm going to say it's Reiki because that's exactly what it looked like in the movie. When Mr. Miyagi gets there and he does the famous, and some of us in Reiki use this to begin our Reiki treatment, just to get that warmth in our hands as we start to generate energy. And he works on his knee. Daniel-san makes it back out. This is the biggest battle of chemicalization you'll ever go through. As he fights Johnny on the championship match, he scores, Johnny scores, and he's told to cheat, make him suffer. Take a point away, get a point. When Daniel scores a point on him, and regretfully draws blood, the student is Johnny's told to go see a sensei. Sensei tells him to sweep the leg. And he didn't want to do it, but he did it anyway. How many of our thoughts sweep us off our feet? And are you ready and prepared to get back up when it happens? Well, Daniel did. And now you've got to realize that this is the point in our lives where we're sitting there, we're ready, we're fighting this thought, and it's coming at us, and we don't know what to do. We take that breath, we enter that space, the answer comes. In Danny's case, it was the crane technique. And he scores and wins the championship, even with the bad leg, even through all the challenges, even through everything. One last ditch effort. He did everything. He tapped into what he knows. Get to the Karate Kid Part 3. We're going to talk more about this area of the ego and knowing what to do, even in the face of fear. But in this case, Karate Kid comes to the end because this is where he wins the tournament. And in life, this is how we win. It's not about a lot of money. It's not about abundant wealth. It's about winning within ourselves, feeling it within ourselves. Knowing that when we tap into life, that flow of life, as Eric Butterworth teaches, that it all begins to come together. And that's what I got from Karate Kid. And that's how I saw how Karate Kid and my unity journey melded. Because trust me, there were times in my life, and I'll share one quick story with you about a tournament, and I joke about it all the time. And it was a Taekwondo tournament in Madison Square Garden. And they had rings all over the place. And when we talk about a karate ring, it's pretty much a square taped to the floor. And I remember it was the first time I took my mother to a tournament. She's never seen me fight. I was 16 years old. I step into the ring and the judge calls my name. So, of course, my mother's nervous now. She's sitting there. She's like, oh, my God. And I'm inside the ring and I've got my pads and I'm jumping, 16-year-old. Yeah, it's karate. And this guy walks in the ring. Now, I was about 6'2" at the time. This guy had to be at least 6'5", looking down on me. Had straight, greasy hair like he stepped off of an Ozzy Osbourne cover. Ready to fight. Well, the only thing I knew to do was do my best. It's a points. It's no big deal. And I remember I'm jumping, I'm getting myself warmed up. The other guy's doing the same thing. The referee looks at me and he says, bow to each other. We bow to each other. He says, bow to me. He says, ready, puts his hand out, and we know that's the signal to get ready. And I see my mother on the other side standing next to a teacher from another school. And she's got her hands on her face like, oh my God. And they go, hajime, which means start in Japanese or begin. And we start the fight, and we're fighting. And my mother literally buries her face in this guy's chest. I ended up winning the match. And trust me when I say it felt like I exhaled because I was so nervous and so fearful. This guy was bigger than me, probably had more experience than me. My sensei wasn't there. It was just me at the tournament at this time and my mother. And the guy's mother comes over and asks me how old I was. And I said I was 16. She goes, oh. And I'm like, what's going on? And I look over, and the kid also was about 16, 17, and was crying because he lost the match. So sometimes our perspective of fear stops us from doing what we do. But if we're willing to move through that fear in faith, there's nothing that we can't accomplish on this hero's journey. And at the end of this movie, we all know that we cheer Daniel on, or Daniel-san as he's called out through Mr. Miyagi throughout the whole thing, on his hero's journey. And how many of you have been at that place where you've learned the basics, you've done the work, and you're here celebrating because you've gotten better? Life isn't over. As Reverend Diane used to always say, obviously there's work for me to do because I'm still here. That's what's important. I hope you tune in next week as we move into Karate Kid 2. We're going to move from the tournament out of the dojo and into a whole other world as Daniel-san travels to Japan and Okinawa, home of Miyagi-Do, and face even more of his greatest fears and the lessons he needs to learn. So I hope you got something from this today. If you haven't checked out the movie is from 1984. So it's the Karate Kid #1. Next week we'll be talking about Karate Kid #2. So with that, I hope that we learn something today and we begin to rise in our consciousness and we move into our next song.
I won't just survive. Oh, you will see me thrive. Can't write my story. I'm beyond the archetype. I won't just conform. No matter how you shake my core. 'Cause my roots they run deep. Oh, oh, you so little faith. Don't doubt it, don't doubt it. Victory is in my veins. I know it, and I will not negotiate. I'll fight it, I'll fight it. I will transform. When the fire's at night, beating and the vultures all start circling, they're whispering, you're out of time, but still I rise. This is no mistake, no accident. When you think the final nail is in, think again. Don't be surprised, I will still rise. I must stay conscious through the madness and chaos. So I call on my angels. They say, oh, ye of so little faith. Don't doubt it, don't doubt it. Victory is in my veins. I know it, and you will not negotiate. Just fight it, and be transformed. 'Cause when the fire's at my feet again, and the vultures all start circling, they're whispering, you're out of time, but still I rise. This is no mistake, no accident. When you think the final nail is in, think again. Don't be surprised, I will still rise. Know it, still rise. Just fight it, just fight it. Don't be surprised, I will still rise.
And I hope you love the lesson. I hope you took the words from the song Karate Kid as the same journey as he did. You can see the similarities of the journey we go through in unity. A lot of times we don't want to talk about the challenges, but we have to, because when we go head on to them. We know it, we meet them, we greet them, we use everything in spirit to move through them, and we come out the other side where we want to be. So with that being said, I hope that you also enjoyed the music again. We rise no matter what. We're called to rise in everything we do and on this journey. And I hope you join us next week as we move into Karate Kid 2, where we leave the dojo and we move into the wilderness of another country. And if you've heard the term wilderness before, then you know you're a metaphysician, as we talk about moving into the wilderness, as we use the story of Moses as a metaphysical lesson for our consciousness. But as always, we now give you the chance to practice gratitude and a consciousness of prosperity and abundance, as this is the time where we allow ourselves to give in gratitude for the lessons and the messages that we have gotten. So if you have given gifts, great. If you haven't, our stuff to donate to us is on the bottom of the screen, as well as using the QR code with your phone. And if you're donating to your another spiritual center right now, that's fine as well. Go ahead and hold it in your hands, move it to your heart, and together we affirm divine love as me, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I circulate, and the awareness of all that I am. And that last line is most important, especially on the hero's journey, because when we doubt ourselves, we lose the path. And as always, we bless the money and any gifts that come in, and we know that it's multiplying and doing the work it's supposed to do, and we say thank you. With that being said, I will see you guys next week as always, but let's join in together as we pray. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us, and wherever we are, God is, and all is well, and we are so grateful. I am grateful for you, and as always, I love you. Nothing you can do about it, and we will see you guys next Sunday.